Well, here's the next video in a continuing series of how to feed yourself inexpensively and feed yourself well. Today we're going to make noodles, handmade noodles with a miso sauce. The first part is making the noodles. The only thing you're going to need for ingredients will be 1 egg and 1/2 cup of flour. This feeds one person really well. This is going to be for the two of us, Danielle and me, because this is just going to be a little side dish that goes with the rest of our meal. And then for tools, you need a rolling pin, a dough scraper, a good knife, and a fork. So let's get started. First thing you want to do is get your 1/2 cup of flour and put it out on your work surface. Then you're going to make a well in the middle of that flour. And you're going to put your egg in the middle of the well. I apologize for the noise in the background. We've got other things being cooked at the moment as well. So you'll take your fork, then you just take your time and break up that egg and slowly incorporate the flour into the egg. This is going to take a bit of time. You want to go slowly. I always think it's a challenge to try to keep the egg from gushing out of the flour and going all over the place. That's what I try not to do. You just want to slowly incorporate the flour into that egg. You might not believe it, but you can tell a difference between handmade noodles and store-bought noodles. And the style of noodle we're going to be making here is more or less like a fettuccine noodle. So I'm just mixing that flour in with the egg. Okay, the flour is becoming saturated pretty good. So I'm just going to continue to hydrate that flour with the bread scraper. Work it in. It has a way to go yet. Eventually you can incorporate your fingers, not make too much of a mess, but inevitably you'll get flour going here and there, so you want to use your scraper to clean it up with. You're going to try to make a patty, a little dough patty, an egg dough patty. I tend to be very messy at this. Danielle's not nearly as messy as I am. So I'm going to take that little dough ball and just place it on the work surface, and I'm going to cover it with a bowl for about 15 minutes, and I'll see you then. Our 15 minutes are up, so now it's time to roll out the dough into a very thin piece. Very thin what? Very thin wafer. So I like to use the regular rolling pin for that. And just take your time. Turn it every once in a while. Eventually you'll probably need to put flour down. I don't need to put it down yet because I have flour left over from the previous step. I'll just keep working it in this fashion. Back and forth. Okay. So you just keep flipping it over and be patient. And this thing is going to be about 10 inches or so across. If you feel it beginning to stick to the surface, you'll need to come in with some dusting flour. Otherwise, just keep going as you are. It just started to stick, so I came in with some dusting flour. You want these pieces of dough fairly thin, because after all, we're going to make noodles out of it. So it takes some pushing down on the rolling pin. Alright, the dough is just about at the right thickness. Again, this is a meal designed for one person, so if this is all we are eating, then I will usually make 2 batches of this. It doesn't look like a lot right now, but it will make a good pile of pasta. So now I'm ready to take it to the next step. We're going to put a little bit of dusting flour down, just a very little bit. You don't want to really incorporate any more flour into the dough. And then I'm going to lightly dust the flour or the dough itself with just the slightest little bit of flour, and I'm going to roll it up. I know it looks scraggly, but that doesn't really matter too much for what we're doing. So just kind of roll it up very carefully. Like that. I'm going to bring in the drying rack because this will need to dry. I usually cut off the very end, each end, and I give that to the chickens. But then I come in and I just cut these dough pieces into little, maybe 3/8 inch strips, slices, if you will. Like that. So you can make these noodles as wide or as narrow as you want to. I'm sort of trying to replicate fettuccine, so that's why I've chosen that width. And then all you have to do is take these little coils and unwind them, unroll them, and put them on your drying rack. So put all these on the drying rack, and then they can stay there for up to several hours. Or you can, if your water is ready, you can put them right directly into the boiling water. I'm gathering all the ingredients now to the miso sauce. So we have 1.5 teaspoons of miso paste. Now that'll be the most difficult thing for you to find. We get ours from an outfit in Maine, a very small concern. And it's organic. Just Google miso paste Maine and you'll come to the website. We have about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, 1.5 tablespoons of butter, and I've got some red pepper flakes here that I'm going to remove the seeds from, and I've got a shallot. If you have scallions work well here instead of a shallot. But so that's going to be in our miso sauce. It takes about a 1/2 teaspoon or so of red pepper flakes, and Danielle taught me to, or trained me to, remove the seeds from the pepper flakes. She knows how to cook in a proper fashion. I'm just as happy to get a gray squirrel and make gray squirrel and dumpling over the campfire, but she's trying to teach me the right way to do things. So that's what I'm doing here. Time to get going on the sauce now, the miso sauce. I'm going to start off with a tablespoon of olive oil right in there. I'm going to plop in my butter that I already got ready. Right there. Let that work for a little bit. I'll just go ahead and chop up my shallot while the pan is heating up with the butter and oil in it. Chop this up nice, and that'll go in next. I've got my water for the pasta is boiling now. I'll let that start softening. The water's boiling nicely, so I'll go ahead and put the pasta in. It usually times itself so that the pasta is done about the time that the sauce is done. This is just like a half recipe of pasta, just a little bit. I'm going to put a 10-minute timer on that. Jeez. All right. I've got the pasta in, and I'm browning my onion, and I've got my miso paste in here, trying to blend everything together. Keep it moving though, because this is a pretty hot fire. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on the triangle. That's better, a little bit more control. I'll put my red pepper flakes in next. That's good. I switched over to a whisk. It might help to break up the miso. Oh, it smells so good though. I'm smelling it already. I don't want it to get too hot though. Mostly I'm trying to cook the onion, or at least soften the onion. I like the taste of shallots. And when that's just about done, I'm going to put in the Parmesan. Time to put the cheese in. Got to keep things moving though. Add a little bit of water to help things blend in together. And I like to use the water from the pasta. That's better, isn't it? Alright, so sauce is looking good. Just going to kind of keep that moving. And the noodles are almost done. Then when they go in, watch out, because it's really going to take shape then. Okay, we've deemed our noodles done. So they're going to go into our sauce here and get blended up nice. Looks nice. This is a very easy to make, very inexpensive to make meal for one person, or two if you double the recipe for two people. We're just using it as a side with a piece of meat, a piece of pork. It's nice to add a little bit of water to it also. It kind of livens it up a little. Not too much though. And the water that I add to it, I get from the pasta water. There we go. That's just about it right there. So there you have it. Miso sauce over homemade noodles. Cheap, easy. It only takes about 10 or 15 minutes. And you're not going to eat better than that. Alright, thanks for watching.